Mara moved into the top floor flat because it was cheap and because the landlord promised the view would grow on you. The building was older than the neighborhood, a narrow brick thing wedged between glass towers, and the stairwell smelled of lemon oil and old paper. At night, the city hummed below. Inside, the walls kept secrets. On the second evening, she heard music through the plaster, a slow, careful piano that sounded like someone practicing the same bar over and over. She pressed her ear to the wall, and the notes stopped. When she knocked on the neighbor's door, there was no answer. But the door was ajar. Inside the hallway was a single lamp, its shade tilted, and the apartment beyond was a dark rectangle. No furniture, no footprints, only the faint echo of the piano, as if the sound had been left behind like a coat. A week later, the building learned her schedule. The kettle would begin to whistle a minute before she woke. The radiator would sigh in the exact rhythm of her breathing when she fell asleep. Once, returning from work, she found a small paper square tucked under her door. Her own handwriting filled it. "Don't go out tonight." She had not written it. She burned the note in the sink and watched the ash curl like a question mark down the drain. Other tenants were polite and thin-voiced. They smiled in the stairwell and never lingered. When she asked about the empty apartment, the landlord said only that some rooms were between tenants. He had a way of looking at the building as if it were a living thing that needed tending. He kept a ledger with names crossed out in a neat, indifferent hand. The building's appetite was subtle. It did not take things so much as borrow them. A laugh, a favorite song, the way someone folded their hands. Mara began to notice small absences in herself. She would reach for a memory and find only a blank where it had been. The name of a childhood friend, the exact shade of a dress she loved. When she tried to tell herself the memories back, the words came out thin and wrong, like a recording played at the wrong speed. One night the piano returned, louder and closer, and this time it played a melody she knew, a lullaby her mother had hummed when she was small. She followed the sound down the hall and found the neighbor's door closed. The keyhole was a black eye. She put her ear to the wood and heard, not the piano, but her own voice, singing the lullaby in a voice that had been softened and smoothed by distance. It was a voice that remembered things she had forgotten. She pushed the door open. The apartment was full of small things arranged in careful rows. A chipped mug with a lipstick stain she recognized, a sweater she had once lent to a friend, a photograph of a street she had walked down as a child. Each object hummed with the memory of her touch. In the center of the room, on a low table, sat a small glass jar. Inside it, suspended like a trapped insect, was a sliver of light that pulsed with the rhythm of her heartbeat. "You can take it back," a voice said behind her. She turned and the landlord stood in the doorway, his face calm as a ledger. But then the building will be hungry again. Mara thought of the blank places in her head and the notes that had appeared under her door. She thought of the lullaby, now a thin thread between her and the jar. She reached out and touched the glass. The light inside flared, and for a moment every lost thing rushed back into her. The name, the color, the exact shape of a laugh. It was like drinking from a well. When she opened her eyes, the room was empty. The jar was gone. The landlord smiled as if he had expected this. "We keep what people leave behind," he said. "We keep what they forget." Mara left the apartment that night with her pockets full of small, ordinary things she had never realized she missed. She moved into a new place across town with bright windows and a landlord who did not keep ledgers. For a while she slept without the feeling of absence. Months later, on a rainy afternoon, she found a folded square of paper in her coat pocket. Her own handwriting filled it. "Don't go out tonight." She had not written it. She burned the note in the sink and watched the ash curl down the drain. And somewhere far away a piano began to play a lullaby she had once hummed in the dark.